don't know how many of you guys pay attention to Kyler Murray from a national standpoint, but how do you guys feel about him? Because to me, Kyler Murray has always been one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. In my opinion, probably the second most talented, right behind Lamar Jackson in terms of athletic ability and arm strength. He's one of the greatest athletes to play in the NFL. And, over the last 5 games, the Arizona Cardinals have really struggled. And so has Kyler Murray. And over this stretch, where they've lost 4 out of their last 5 since they started out 6-4, Kyler Murray has went from underrated to overrated within that span because he may be the NFL's most inconsistent quarterback in the league. Probably the league's most talented inconsistent quarterback because he has a tendency to start the season off playing really good football, right? But then once you get to the midway point and so forth, his play starts to decline. Prime example, his first 8 games this season, he had 11 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He was in the MVP conversation. Remember, it was Lamar, Josh Allen, Saquon, and Kyler, along with Jared Goff. But ever since his hot start to the year, he's been really off. 5 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. It just seems like Kyler Murray, when he gets into the later months of the season, he starts to hit a wall. At first, when this was starting to happen, people were blaming Cliff Kingsbury for it. Oh, it's Cliff Kingsbury's system. It's his play calling. But we've seen Jaden Daniels still play really well in the second half this year, despite Cliff Kingsbury being his offensive coordinator. So at this point, you really can't point the finger at the coaching anymore. Eventually, if you're a Cardinals fan, you have to say, okay, how much of this is the coaching and how much of this is just Kyler Murray just falling off in the second half of the season? Because if Arizona is going to be a playoff team in the near future, you need Kyler Murray to play way better in the second half than what he has done in the past. Because the NFL is not about how you start. It's about how you finish. You want to play your best football after the week of Thanksgiving. Kyler Murray does the complete opposite. He tends to play his best football early and his worst football late. You rather Kyler Murray struggle the first 9 games and play on fire the last 8-9 games of the season, because that's when it matters the most. Your last 2 months is when you're trying to make that playoff push. And here we find ourselves with the Arizona Cardinals getting eliminated from playoff contention by Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers, which was a game where Bryce Young outplayed Kyler Murray, by the way. Kyler Murray was playing good up until the final 15 minutes of that game. He had a really costly interception in the second half when he's rolling outside the pocket, and I don't know what he was thinking trying to make that pass, but he threw it right to the defender pretty much. You would have thought that he might have mistaken that defensive back as one of his receivers. The decision-making, especially late in games out of Kyler Murray, is incredibly infuriating to watch at times. And you can also blame Drew Pretzing, the Cardinals' current offensive coordinator, for why the offense has been wonky down the stretch. But Arizona has just been a hot and cold team all year long. But Kyler Murray has kind of been what I like to say a little bit glitchy. When he was playing great football, he didn't have any glitches. But during down the stretch these last couple of weeks, he's been glitching out. And when you watch Kyler Murray, you can see the best and the worst of him in only one play. That play when he threw that interception against Carolina. He avoids the rush. He gets outside the pocket. You see this really good athlete. And then you see him a few seconds later, after making a good play to extend and buy time for guys to get open, he makes a boneheaded decision. That's the Kyler Murray experience. It's just a roller coaster. It's just a wave of emotions that goes up and down every time you watch Arizona play with him at the helm. And I'm not saying that Kyler Murray doesn't have what it takes to be a franchise quarterback. Because as I said earlier, along with Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray is one of the greatest athletes that the NFL has seen play this quarterback position, especially with him not really meeting positional norms. You normally don't see a quarterback this small having this level of success. And Kyler Murray isn't a bad quarterback, but at this point, I can't say that he's a good quarterback. So where would you rank Kyler Murray? Right now, if we were to rank every quarterback that starts from best to worst, where would Kyler Murray kind of rank? Because I kind of feel like he's around that 13th to 15th range. It's kind of like I put him in the same place that I will put Dak Prescott in. You know, when he's on, I want him on my team. But when he's off, you can't win with him. And I don't think it has anything to do with character issues. You feel me? I think it has to do more with the limitations that comes with playing at his small frame, with that small size. He still isn't that good throwing in the middle of the field. He really can't scan the entirety of the field neither. You know, Kyler Murray, as athletically gifted as what he is, which is what you need to be to succeed at quarterback with that small size, you know, you can still see those limitations hurt Arizona late during the season. And the only way you can win with a quarterback like Kyler Murray and you can sustain his consistent level of play throughout the entirety of the year, and if you have a really good offensive coordinator, Drew Pretzing doesn't meet that mold for a guy who could bring the best out of Kyler. If Arizona is ever going to make a deep playoff run, you got to have like a Ben Johnson kind of offensive coordinator, because not everybody can be successful coaching a quarterback that's as talented as what Kyler Murray is, but has limitations. I never understood why the Arizona Cardinals have snaps that involves Kyler Murray having to receive underneath center. With how short he is, he should primarily be playing out of the pistol, out of the shotgun for 95% of the offensive possessions. You know, I don't get some of the schematics that Drew Pretzing likes to use when it comes to getting everything out of Kyler. I think that Kyler Murray would be better off if you had an offensive coordinator that had a scheme that closely resembled a little bit of what Cliff Kingsbury liked to do, or a little bit of what Lincoln Riley liked to do when Kyler Murray won the Heisman when he was playing for him at Oklahoma. I think if you're Jonathan Gannon, you got to go to the college ranks to try to find an offensive coordinator who can kind of bring a little bit of that scheme and kind of mix it a little bit in with the NFL, similar to how the Ravens have done with their hiring of Todd Monken. Remember, when he replaced Greg Roman, he was coming from Georgia, who had won back-to-back national championships with Stetson Bennett at quarterback. And Todd Monken, he runs a hybrid of what is a spread college offense, but it also has NFL concepts built into it. And if Arizona can kind of find their version of Todd Monken, I think that's what could bring the best out of Kyler Murray the final 2 months of the season. Because that's why he glitches out. You really don't have an offensive mind that is creative enough to continue to reinvent the wheel, to continue to sustain the high level of play that we've seen out of Kyler Murray. Because from a skill set standpoint, Kyler Murray can play in any kinds of weather conditions. He has a pretty strong arm for his size. He is really accurate, and he's an incredible athlete. He runs like 4.3, 4.4. The dude could be playing baseball right now in the major leagues. So I don't think it's a talent thing with Kyler. I think that with his size limitations, his short stature, you kind of have to get an offensive coordinator that just specializes at being able to get the most out of a guy like Kyler Murray.